sports card shows will never quite be the same as what we've seen over the last couple of years. We're going to talk through it. Stick around. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. Another day, another card video. Hope everybody had an amazing weekend. How's everybody doing?
I feel pretty good too. I think I finally got some sleep. I don't know why, I just feel pretty good.
If you're new here or you've been here for a while but you haven't committed, hit the subscribe button, guys. We're coming with almost daily videos and we will keep on keeping on. Also, connect with me on IG at SportsCardDad. I'm also on Twitter if you like to do the tweet thing, the SportsCardDad. Quick shout out to today's video sponsor, Card Shop Live. Guys, check them out. It's a live buying, selling site. It is a lot of fun. I will put the sign up information in the comments. I will pin a comment as well as the video description. Card Shop Live. Check them out. All right, I've been watching videos the last couple weeks on some of the recent shows, specifically the Nashville card show, as well as this recent Dallas card show over the past weekend. There's been a lot of talk about, are card shows dying? Are they slowing down and all this? And of course, as hobbyists, this is something that we are tracking. For me as well, because I go to my local Raleigh card show here, and I'm very excited actually to kind of go in December. I believe it's December 10th weekend, 8th, 9th, 10th, something like that. And I'm excited to kind of see where we are at my local show, because it's not a massive show, but it's a decent sized show. And I've seen it come from a tiny show going back a few years to actually be pretty damn busy. So I'm excited to see what Raleigh here looks like over the next couple of months, or actually in a few weeks, excuse me. So I'm listening to Blez. Blez did a video with a dealer, and it was about the Nashville card show. And again, this is one person's perspective. Of course, there's people that sold cards at the show, but this guy's an experienced dealer, and he sold 0 cards is what he said at the Nashville card show. And they kind of talked through it. And so that perspective on the Nashville show I felt like it was important. That's a good video to check out. Blez, Blez Cards, I believe, is the name of the YouTube channel. And it's only, I think it's like a 5 or 6 minute video, but just gives you some insights, one perspective from the Nashville card show. Also caught Merle World and also the great curator talking about the Dallas card show. They were actually filming from a trade night. I think it was Saturday night, talking about how the power went out and stuff. But basically kind of the consensus that I heard was Friday was a slower day because of weather stuff. It was very slow, but there's like a weather warning, tornado warning or something in Dallas. Saturday, much busier as far as the traffic at the show. Great curator shared, and this was at the trade night, so I assume after the card show on Saturday, that the most expensive card he had sold was $400, and as he says, the micro deals more in the $50, $100 range was kind of more of what he was selling. So no kind of monster sales there. And then I saw a video with Mike Baseball Collector talking about it. That's a fairly local show to him, and he was saying that, it was a busy day on Saturday and, a lot of good vintage stuff, good card options, but, pricing, on some stuff. Of course, he did pick up a few things. The consensus is always kind of like stuff is priced too high. Everybody is looking to get at comps or under comps, and some dealers just aren't quite there yet. What he was saying is that there wasn't a lot of transactions that he saw. And granted, this is one person's perspective, a couple people's perspective at the show. There could have very well been a lot of transactions that were done, and just we can't see it. When I'm at a show too, you can't see everything that's going on. But I've heard that though. I've heard that there is great attendance, and this is really going back over the last 3, 4, 5 months. Good attendance, not as much being transacted. That was even going back to the National, going back to July, pretty decent attendance, but was there a lot of stuff being transacted? Now, granted, there was no internet in there, so people trying to figure out what comps were and all that was a little bit tricky. But a lot of window shopping is what it seems like over the last few months. And really, I think it's just people are just tightening up. They've tightened up and they're looking for deals. I think people are more showing up to see are there fire sales? They're there to see, is there any kind of big time deal, or they're searching for, a couple of specific cards of, a handful of specific cards the way I was at the National. I really went in with 5 targets and I ended up getting 2 out of the 5. So that was great. But, I was just looking for a decent deal on those particular cards. And if it wasn't there, I was okay walking away. I wasn't reaching on anything. And I think that that's something over the last couple of years that we've seen is people just kind of spending and reaching and prospecting on things. And that has completely tightened up, to where people are just kind of waiting for their price. I was talking with some of my hobby friends in Discord. They actually made a pretty good point. Dakota Sports Card Anonymous and Bobbles and Ball Cards talking about, I believe it was one of the two talking about just that frequency of the Dallas show, meaning like that Dallas show is like every 6 weeks or every 2 months. If it was like 2 or 3 times a year, it would probably be jam packed because it's only 2 or 3 times a year. You have the frequency of that show that actually makes it pretty impressive that they're able to sell out the way that they are. I think this was another 700 table show. Now, I think the one thing I would be curious of knowing just on the inside, kind of the business side of the show, is have they lowered prices for tables? So it's like maybe they're selling 700 tables, but have they lowered the price down by half or a third to be able to keep vendors, to be able to keep that level, of 700 tables? I would think they probably have, but maybe they haven't. I mean, maybe that's just maintained a popular show, but I think this is the kind of thing. And I worked going back almost 15 years now. I used to work in sales to where I sold exhibit space, so exhibit booths, as well as sponsorships for a trade show company. So I know a little bit about how this works. And a lot of it is driven by attendance. So when we're talking about shows, you have price of tables and price of sponsorships. A lot of that is driven by, do you have 5,000 people expected, attendance that's expected that have RSVP'd? Or do you have 50,000? And the higher that those attendance numbers are, it really dictates kind of what you can charge. It really helps. And then also, of course, it's what's being transacted. Are they having good shows? Or if it's more of a branding thing for a company, do they feel like they got good branding? For the amount of money that they spent, the travel, the setup and everything else, do they feel like they got good foot traffic, had good conversations, to be able to reconcile those prices? So I think for a lot of card shows, this is going to be interesting to see how this goes over the next 6 months, because we have had just high frequency of shows. There's just a lot of shows. I think for the larger ones, if we're talking about like the National, if we're talking about the Dallas card show, and even like Burbank's just starting out in Los Angeles, they're starting out kind of their show stuff. I think they're going to be absolutely fine because they have strong local people there, dealers and attendants. Like Los Angeles, there's a lot of dealers there, and there's a lot of people, high-end buyers of cards. So a show that's set up well in those hubs, the National is always going to be the National. Dallas is set up nicely. There's a lot of card people there as well, a lot of card companies there. I don't think those shows really struggle too badly, but I do think that probably booth pricing will have to be adjusted at some point if you don't have the transactions, because that's the thing. If you just have a lot of window shoppers, then that's great, but at the end of the day, you got to sell cards. This kind of made me think, though, too, because I remember going back to, the 90s, early 90s when I was a kid. They would have massive shows in the mall. And I was trying to remember, in shopping malls. I know people are like, what is that? Yeah, actual shopping malls were just like littered with card tables and sports memorabilia. It was actually really, really awesome. But I wonder, too, how much transacting was going on. I don't remember, or just don't know, because I was a kid. I was 10 years old. But was there a lot of window shopping back then as well? And are we just kind of reverting back to kind of what card shows always really were, is you have maybe some decent attendance and people showing up because they like looking at cards. And who knows, maybe you show up because you might find that deal. You might see a really cool card that you want to get. I guess that's my point. Over the last couple of years, we've had massive transacting. There's been just probably dealers that are like, holy cow, this show, we made tens of thousands of dollars. Whereas if you go back 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that was never really the case. Not that you didn't have attendance, but that you just didn't have that type of volume of sales that we've seen over the last couple of years. So are we just kind of reverting back to more of what it was before? If you know this, if you kind of have some insight into this, a dealer that sets up, I would like to kind of hear your thoughts on this, where you see this going. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's kind of a bad hobby thing. It's just more of, are we just kind of getting back to the way that it always was, or some semblance of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and don't forget to check out Card Shop Live. See you later.